Alright, KSI's next boxing event might have gotten canceled just because of how bad the main event is. Now, I've been wanting to do a video on this for a while, and honestly, I didn't even want to talk about it first because I just thought this was the most ridiculous thing, but however, this thing looks like it's getting canceled. KSI had a fight coming up, I think in August, and this fight is now off of DAZN, and I'm going to explain why. I'm going to explain why this fight is so stupid to begin with, and what do I think is going to happen next. Guys, we're going to get into all this and more, but first, guys, I want to remind you guys to subscribe button, like, comment, and share, guys. We are almost at 13K, guys. You guys have been killing it with the sport recently, and make sure to join the Discord server to have more conversations. And yeah, guys, we all know KSI. He last fought Tommy Fury, and it was a close fight. Honestly, I thought KSI won. It was very close, and I think that was a performance he should have been proud of, but what he shouldn't have been proud of is his behavior after the fight, the babying, the tantrums he was throwing after the fight, you know, just screaming at Tommy Fury. You want landing! 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 Like, this is why people don't take these YouTubers seriously, right? Even though they should. Like, these guys have now been training for like 8 years or so. They're like getting professional level, and especially these guys train with the highest level coaching, having so much money, being able to spend so much on training. So yeah, don't underestimate these guys. These are legit fighters now. But a lot of people, including myself, were curious, where does KSI go from this? He took a long hiatus from boxing, and there's a few names. You know, obviously Jake Paul was the #1 choice, right? That seems to be the #1 choice. I've already talked about this at length. I don't think the fight is ever going to happen. I think both guys just have so much to lose in terms of ego that no one is ever going to put it on the line. And plus, the weight issue is a legitimate issue. Like, Jake is a lot bigger than KSI is right now. Like, for God's sakes, Jake is planning to fight Mike Tyson in November at heavyweight, while KSI's last few fights have been at most 185, but usually around the 170 range. But KSI, I think, had a lot of struggle trying to find an opponent that would generate a lot of interest. In other words, talks of Amir Khan. It seems like that fight might happen later in the year. But KSI, the genius himself, the genius marketer, decided to come up with a matchup that no fan was going to expect. Something that would blow the minds of fans all across the world. He decided to announce one of the dumbest fights I think I've ever heard of. Slim and Anthony Taylor versus KSI. I know what you guys are thinking. Why is it both? These guys are going to be doing a tag team matchup against KSI where they take turns fighting him. This is the stupidest thing on so many levels. First of all, I'm never really a fan of the tag team boxing. I think, yeah, it's fun to laugh out, but it's not actually fun to treat as a serious sport, right? And I think KSI, his fans, including even myself, who I wouldn't even say I'm necessarily a KSI fan, I want to see him fight competitive competition. I think KSI really puts himself and works so hard. Like, I want to see him actually fight some guys. This fight is announced, and I just think this is stupid. I do not want to see a 2v1 with KSI against these two. My problem isn't even the fact that they are actually like low competition. I wouldn't honestly mind a Slim versus KSI fight. I would much rather that than add Anthony Taylor. I think Anthony Taylor versus KSI is a terrible fight. It's going to be a terrible fight. That's just a terrible matchup in general. So I would much rather have seen Slim versus KSI main event, you know, just regular boxing match, because at least Slim, you could even see in the press conferences, really trying to sell the fight.
As a boxer, you ain't bro. Honestly, you ain't like that, my guy.
There are so many better matchups too. Like I said, Masvidal obviously just fought Nate Diaz. He probably wouldn't be ready by August, but there's a matchup that's good. I wouldn't even mind a Tommy Fury rematch. There's other UFC fighters I would much rather see him fight. I'd rather see KSI fight Tyron Woodley. There are so many options out there, guys. I can go on and on all day, but yeah, this is the option they landed on for some reason. I have no idea why, except for the fact I actually do know why, right? Apparently, DAZN needs some sort of pay-per-view from Misfits, right? That is the whole drama going around. Well, Misfits, let's be honest, they do not have many pay-per-view draws, right? Outside of KSI, who else is going to generate pay-per-views? Who else is going to generate interest? Like, the last Misfits event I watched, I believe, was that Prime card, right? Which was in October. And I think there has been like 5 or 6 cards since then. Like, I'm not sure how many people are actually watching this thing. And I'm not even trying to be a dick. I just don't know. I mean, there isn't stars. And at the end of the day, this influencer boxing stuff really has just died because it's become more of a business, right? It's become more about clout rather than just going out there and fighting. So I think that's why it's kind of died. So people are trying to handpick matchups. Everybody's trying to be their own, you know, big entity. And it's kind of becoming like regular boxing where everyone's trying to protect their record. But like I said, they had the press conference, and I thought Slim was actually pretty interesting, right? Slim did accurately point out that KSI did duck him in January of 2023.
And yeah, just do my thing.
If you really felt like you breezed through me, you would have fought me back in Misfits 04. You chose to fight Temper. You fought Temper instead, though. You chose to fight Temper instead of me, though.
If you guys recall, KSI was supposed to fight Dylan Dennis, and we saw Dylan Dennis pull out of that fight. And instead of fighting Slim, which was the obvious choice, he decided to fight the guy that Slim had knocked out a few months prior, which was FaZe Temper. It just made no sense. And even though I did pick FaZe Temper to win, which I know is now a hilarious choice, I still, at the time in that video, said I would much rather have seen Slim versus KSI. That was the time to make the fight. That made a lot more sense. And I still think it makes more sense. I still think it's a fun matchup. I think KSI would probably be a decent favorite, but it's a good warm-up fight, and it's a good enough competition to make you think about the matchup, so I would have much rather that, but I can keep going on. Press conference happens, and nobody watches this thing. To be honest, I didn't even watch the full thing. I kind of just watched highlights. But yeah, nobody has watched the full press conference, but KSI just looks extremely uninterested in these guys. guys not even trying to pay any attention to them, especially Anthony Taylor. Like, Anthony Taylor there just looks like a kid. He's not getting any attention. Like, nobody's treating this guy serious at all. And you just gotta question KSI's motivation, because he has even hinted at this in tweets, kind of saying, yeah, like, he needs a pay-per-view for DAZN, and that's the only reason he's doing this, and that he's kind of rushing his boxing return. So I think in KSI's head, I think he's looking for a big fight. I think he's looking for a big name that's a competitive matchup that will have him get up out of bed and want to train. I don't think Slim and Anthony Taylor are those guys, right? I think he would much rather try to prove himself against a Masvidal, against even a Nate Diaz or someone like that. A big name that's actually going to present some challenges that actually kind of lead him closer to a Jake Paul fight, where this fight does nothing, right? This fight is just stupid. But here's where we get to the breaking news part of this section, because yeah, this fight has apparently been canceled. I don't know what's going on, guys. Now, this isn't officially canceled. However, a lot of people are pointing out this because KSI did tweet out a cryptic tweet basically pointing out that apparently DAZN has been leaking a lot of information about Misfits, and this is true. I think they did actually initially leak that KSI versus Anthony Taylor and Slim fight on their broadcast. So yeah, DAZN has been leaking Misfits stuff, and it seems that there's some sort of miscommunication, but KSI hinted at this and said, yeah, that apparently DAZN leaked another thing, referring to another fight on some other event, but also could be leaking the fact that, yeah, KSI and that fight against Anthony Taylor and Slim has been canceled because it is no longer on the schedule, guys. I'm going to show you right now. So let's look up, right? If we look up KSI, we could see here, it's loading, but look, KSI, they have this fight with Temper, and outside of that, they have nothing else. It is now removed from the schedule. They have the stuff with, I'm sure they have the stuff of the face-off, but they don't actually have the event. Originally, the event was on the schedule. Let's take a look at their schedule. So apparently, the date was August 31st, right? And yeah, you guys can see that this is nowhere near. It goes from the August 25th all the way to September 20th. The fight is off the schedule, which is not a good sign at all. And like I said, seeing the fact that KSI has shown that he is not interested in this at all, I would not be surprised if KSI is like, hey, let's just pull the plug on this. Let's come up with a new main event or something like that. I would be happy. Honestly, I really just hope that they get rid of Anthony Taylor. I think the solution here would just be Slim versus KSI. Maybe I'm in the minority in this, but I would much rather see that fight a one-off fight. Like, let's see a legit fight. I don't want to see this bullshit, like, one guy's tapping in and out, like, constant stopping of the fight. Like, all it's going to do is just slow down the pace. Like, KSI is going to hurt a guy, someone's going to tap out, and then all of a sudden, a new guy. It's just stupid. I don't care. I'd even rather KSI do the 2 fights in one night thing over this. Like, this is just so stupid. But my guess is, I think the fight's canceled. I think that's the logical thing to do. I don't see any excitement over this. I don't even think the pay-per-view is going to do well. You guys see the numbers of the press conference. Let's not lie to ourselves, right? I know the Prime card was massive, and I think that was because of Dylan Dennis, ironically. But even outside of that, KSI's other fights were a lot bigger than this one, and I just think it's stupid. I think most people are out of this fight. You're not going to get any boxing fans like myself to even watch this fight. I'm not buying this fight. I do not care if this fight goes down at all. I will not even be covering it on this channel. That's how little I care about this, because I think it is so stupid. But my thing is, you either do one or two things. You either kick Anthony Taylor out and do Slim, because I'm not interested in Anthony Taylor versus KSI, so I'd much rather see Slim versus KSI, because there is a little more history, there's a little more heat, and there seems to be a little more of a rivalry, and it does seem like KSI is a little more motivated to beat Slim than he is Anthony Taylor. Or you could just scrap it and come up with a new main event, and that would be a lot harder. Now, you'd have to do maybe one of a few things, right? You can go outside the box and maybe, you know, try to hit up some old UFC fighters, maybe try to put on a Darren Till versus Masvidal or something like that, but I think Masvidal's under contract with Famio, so they'd have to work that out. Maybe a Darren Till versus some other MMA fighter. Maybe that would be something interesting. I think you just gotta think outside the box, or you could do an influencer matchup, right? Which is also very hard, because you'd have to find someone that'll actually draw some pay-per-views, and I think the only person to do that, especially where the fight is located, I think you do a Deji versus Alex Wasabi rematch. But I think the move is maybe just have this as like a UFC main event and kind of think outside the box and get a new audience here. I think that would be the best way for Misfits to survive, because if Misfits is just planning to survive on influencer boxing, good fucking luck, because yeah, they're gonna end up very broke very soon. But guys, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys check out my last video where I talked about Ryan Garcia going on a racist rant and how he's just ruining his career. Like, it is such a sad sight. And also check out my other video where I talked about Jake Paul versus Mike Perry coming up later that month. Thank you guys for watching. You guys are the best fan base in MMA, boxing, and all that. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.